Okay, look, so I like the Ahsoka show, but we just got the first data on the viewership of its first 2 episodes, and it's bad, like really bad. I don't think all hope is lost for Ahsoka. I technically don't think all hope is lost for Star Wars, but I think at this point it's undeniable that there's been major brand damage done with Star Wars, and frankly, a lot of people that used to watch these shows and get really excited about them are not doing that anymore. And so let's go over the reports here. Let's see how this compares to other shows. Let's try to explain fully what is going on. Let's talk about how Ahsoka could end up getting a lot of viewers back. And just like all of this stuff in the age of modern fandom, lots yet to be determined, and we're going to find out all the details together. Okay, so first up, Samba TV put this out earlier today. The latest Star Wars series Ahsoka finally hit screens with 1.2 million US households watching over its first 6 days. This is similar to the viewership of Andor's premiere season and slightly lower than The Mandalorian season 3 premiere over its 6 days. And look, man, I don't know about y'all, but I don't like this being on par with Andor's premiere season. I mean, wasn't Andor the show that nobody watched, that they tried to put on Hulu, CBS, and all these other things, and nobody watched it? This is not a good look. So how do these numbers compare to other Star Wars shows? And what the hell is even going on with Samba? Let's try to like really talk about this. So Samba, just like Nielsen, is a company that puts together analytics, and they sort of chart how many people are watching these shows. And so Samba's looking at a small percentage of the households in America. They're not tapped into every single person that's watching these shows. The only people that have that data is Disney, and you really only ever hear that data being talked about if it's absolutely mind-blowing. So like when they have the biggest premiere they've ever had, or they have an episode that does insane numbers, you'll see them come out and say something, and they can back it up with data if their shareholders were ever to question it and they would ever to get in some kind of legal dispute. But for the most part, they're not going to talk about the numbers because the numbers are probably way worse than we all imagine. Oh, and by the way, all of the studios are furious at people like Samba and Nielsen because they don't want those numbers out there. This is also part of the reason that they are holding numbers back and don't want to give the numbers to the writers for the strike. According to Samba, 1.6 million households watched The Mandalorian Season 3 premiere. 2.14 households watched the Obi-Wan Kenobi premiere. And although I couldn't find exact numbers, people told me that Mandalorian Season 2 was like 1.16 and Andor was 1.15. It's also important to note that most of these shows go on a trajectory where the most people watch the premiere and then the finale numbers are something between 30% to 50% lower because a lot of people are trying the show out at the beginning and don't end up sticking with it. And so again, this isn't the end of the world, but it's absolutely not a good sign. And this is just Samba, and Nielsen's numbers will be coming out in a couple of weeks and we'll really get the story told to us there. So what's going on? Like, what is happening? Why is the Ahsoka show's premiere, which I think is actually pretty good. I had a lot of issues with it, but I thought it was really good and I like where it's going. Why is that premiere doing so much worse than Kenobi and even The Mandalorian Season 3? Well, I've heard some people say this has to do with the strike and it has to do with the lack of promotion, and I just don't buy that at all. I mean, I think they went crazy with the promotion of the Ahsoka show, and they also did all of those premieres last week that sure didn't involve any of the actors, but let's be real, actors are not pushing shows like at all. That's not what's happening. Like, I just can't believe people think that's actually a thing. Well, I think it's actually pretty simple. I think a lot of this has to do with specifically the Kenobi show, but in general, the fact that Lucasfilm has not been delivering good content to fans, and they've been doing a lot of weird stuff that creates all these PR situations that they refuse to take accountability for, and they're pretty much fucking horrible, honestly. And I think the Andor comparison is actually on point because Andor was not a terrible show. I don't like the show. I actually reject it as Star Wars, but that's kind of separate. The whole point that I'm trying to make here is that the Andor show is decent, and a lot of people say they really, really like it. In fact, a lot of people say it's the best thing on Disney Plus, but it got such low viewership that it really rocked Disney behind the scenes to the point where they're putting it out on other networks to try to find an audience for it. They were really shocked at how low the Andor viewership was. And I also think there's some similarities here in the fact that Andor had a slower start. It's a little bit more boring, so it doesn't like really grab you right away. And the same can be said of Ahsoka's first first 2 episodes. Again, as a hardcore Star Wars fan, a big Dave Filoni fanboy, and someone that absolutely loves Star Wars Rebels, I'm all in. All the little things, they do it for me. They get me really excited. But let's just face facts, guys. These were some pretty boring, slower episodes. Like, I've seen many people on Twitter talking about how they made it about 20 minutes into the episode and turned it off. And I can't really blame people if they're not really invested. Like, it's a very slow start. And this is not the heyday of Star Wars. This is not around the time of Mandalorian Season 2. Imagine if this show, Ahsoka, had come out right after Mandalorian Season 2, where we had all this goodwill after Luke Skywalker was back. It was such a dope time. Imagine if, like, 6 months later, you get Ahsoka. Now, that would have been absolutely brilliant. But the opposite actually happened. Instead, we got the Book of Boba Fett, which just felt completely rushed all over the place and pretty goddamn ridiculous. We got Kenobi, which I still think to this day might be the biggest L Lucasfilm has ever held. Somehow that last episode is, like, kind of decent, but the show was so bad in so many different ways. I think it rocked a lot of normies, and because it was the biggest show, dude. That was the biggest Star Wars show, second biggest Disney Plus show ever, only to Loki. And so you had all these people checking it out, and it was not a high quality show. So it turned a ton of people off. Then you get into Andor. Andor, obviously, I don't like it. A lot of people did, but I think most people had checked out at that point. And then you look at Mandalorian Season 3 coming in at a lower opener than the Book of Boba Fett, coming in lower than Season 2. And what do you think's going on? It is obviously the fact that people are turning away from these shows. People are rejecting this content. The Star Wars brand is damaged. It is not holding the same cachet, the same magic, the same hype that it once did. This is par for the course that they have created. But all hope is actually not lost, because I think the Ahsoka show has some incredible stuff that it's still going to air in its episodes. And I think Dave has even designed the show to have really hyped up things that people are going to be talking about on social media. And he's going to create something that people are going to want to check out, especially the back half of the show when we get into Thrawn and this new universe and Ezra. I think it's going to be fantastic. And so if it's dope enough, if enough people are talking about it, you will get a lot of viewers. You'll get people to go check it out. I mean, it's not so damaged, the Star Wars brand, that people will not check stuff out, because we've obviously seen that people will. But I think we're at a place now with Star Wars, and frankly with Marvel as well, where people are going to be less apt to just watch everything. I think it's pretty clear at this point that the Disney Plus content itself is mostly inferior to movies and doesn't have the same cachet and magic that it should. I mean, Secret Invasion was a really poorly rated show, very low viewership numbers, and people are just kind of over it. Like, they just realize these Marvel Disney Plus shows are not going to be it. I think the Daredevil show will likely get pretty good viewership numbers, but that's kind of like audiences sitting back and being like, well, this one probably doesn't matter. I don't need to watch it. This one seems really cool. I will check this one out. And so the best case scenario for Ahsoka is that it gets better and better. More and more people talk about it. Dave drops some absolutely insane hyped up things, and the viewership rises, and you have a great finale. But the opposite could also be true. This show could actually get lower and lower and perform at the level of Andor or even worse. And if that happens, Lucasfilm, Star Wars, they need to do some real soul searching. They need to figure out what is going to be their strategy to revitalize the brand, because the proof is in the pudding. It is just super obvious. A lot of the Star Wars fans are checked out. I mean, look at Samba's actual post and look at the comments on that post. I mean, Star Wars is in such a horrible spot that they disable comments on their own live streams. They have turned off so many people that they cannot even control the narrative on their own live streams and videos, right? So I just think this is sort of the cows coming home. This is sort of what it is and the bed that they made. And it's really a damn shame, because I think Ahsoka's a dope show. I think Dave is maybe the only person over there that gets this stuff, that knows how to actually deliver these stories and take Star Wars into the future. But he is now a victim of the people around him and of the culture that Kathleen Kennedy has created, both internally with the company and how the company interacts with fans. This is it. This is that stink that we are living in. Like I said, I'm still in for the show. I'm excited. And I did a big stream earlier today talking about this crazy theory. I'm going to put that all into a big video, because I think Dave might be doing some mind-blowing stuff with this show. But I also think it's fair to bring up facts, talk about the viewership, and just kind of state the case that, like, man, things are not going well. And at some point, there needs to be accountability over there. They need to figure out how to pivot and change things because this is not working. It's not fun to be a fan and see these headlines, make videos like this, and be talking about this. I'd much rather be talking about the success of the brand, the hyped up theories, and the fun. So, if you're feeling me on that, let me know in the comment section below. Smash a like on this video. Just a sort of quick one here. Not a lot of editing. Just wanted to get this information out to you. I will be talking about this on Nerd Day. I'll be talking about this on stream. So, let me know what you think here, but we'll talk in live streams as well. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.